Okay, so this is probably going to be a longer video. We've gone through short videos about how to do certain key tasks, and I think those will be probably more helpful. Um, Both starting off if you're really just targeting one or two areas of responsibility, or if you need to remember how to do something several months. This video is intended to cover everything else that I didn't cover in those videos. So I'm going to start this one off as a deep dive into the website. And so for somebody who maybe is interested in taking over the website or owning it holistically or partially, this is really targeted for showing you how to navigate around the editor, where certain pieces are configured. So if you want to change something, you know where that's at. And then really just give you kind of a primer on starting with it. I will say that I have not figured this all out myself yet. Um, so you might need to search the Tithely or the Tithe.ly. They've got a lot of really good tutorials, editing, and things like that to research. If you want to do something that's a little outside of the box, and I haven't strayed outside that box on the website specifically. And then they do have a chat bot, although I'll tell you this is AI, so sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. But if you have a specific question, you might start to see if there's a help article that's. So we've covered a million times how to log in through Twitter. So I'm assuming at this point you've logged in already with your password and you at least know how to get to this point. And once we're at this point, we're logged in, we see our admin menu across the top here. We see the web page. So let's start off in general with just navigating. So you really are, if you look in your URL, you're on our web page. So you're in editor mode, but you're looking at what's live on the page. And so just like you would navigate through pages, you can navigate through pages here as well. So if you want to, make updates in the about section, you can just click the about section and see that. Now what you're seeing because you're logged in is the little areas where you can then go edit the content or add new things. And so, for instance, this is a menu. So there's about us, meet our team. So I have Tony set up here, but if we were to add the members, like if we wanted to do more of the staff members, we could certainly enable that feature as well. This was out of the box. So the I'm new page, thinking about, somebody shopping for what do they want to know about our church before they decide they want to walk in the building. Our beliefs. This is migrated from all of our website revisions, but essentially, what do we stand for? What do we believe? Our declaration of faith. All of this content came from Pastor Tony. So if you're going to change anything in the our beliefs, make sure you get his sign off. Any edits here, aside from pictures, feel free to change pictures, or visuals and things like that. But as far as the content, this come from Pastor Tony. As far as about us and our team, things like this is mostly just words that I've put in there. So you are, green light to make any kind of wording or topic updates anywhere else other than the declaration page. So let's just take a look at some of the features. Now, let's start at home. This is where everybody lands, and generally your home page is where you want the content that people are looking for 90%. So obviously you've got different pages they can access if they want to go. So if they want to come in here and they want to donate, the give automatically leads them through our Tithely financial. You don't want to change anything through the giving link. It's just automatically set to do what it does. But you do have room to, edit the ministries and the things like that. So the top section, and this, I won't go too deep because I don't fully understand it, but you're going to have things like headers and footers and menus. It's not always intuitive. Easiest way is to hover over the section that you want to change, and then you should see this little block here. So you can see this says edit header, which means this whole thing is a header. Not what I would call a header. I think of this as a header, but really in truth, this whole thing is kind of one unit. So if I click on edit header, then it's going to show me the options I have. So display text in header, this is the text that is displaying. So if I click off, should have gone away, but I didn't save it. Yeah, so now I'm getting my pictures, but I'm not seeing my words. So if I click on that again and turn that on, click save, my words should be back. So I will say this, as you're making these edits, it is live. So if somebody would have logged in at the few seconds where I had this turned off, they wouldn't see it. So the risk is minimal when you're making changes here. That don't worry too much about things being funky a little bit temporarily. If somebody happens to log in at the exact moment in time, it's fine. So back to that. So this is editing this block. This one's going to be interesting because it has a few settings that the simpler blocks don't. So the ability to turn the text on or off, the main heading. So you have options on whether, I have it set to default, but you could change to where it's a heading or a subheading. That's going to change like the size of the font. They're kind of like canned font size, if you will. And then the text. So welcome to the GHMC family. Over here, I can see that is this line right here. Then the subheading, where you are loved and accepted, then I can see. So you can kind of poke around and see what, which boxes or controls are doing things currently. And then you can certainly, work those, change them, click save, and then see what that. I don't have any buttons configured here, so you can have a button here that says I'm new and maybe links to the I'm new page. It makes sense. I didn't see any use cases today that made sense there, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. So you could have links right here that are quick buttons people may want to access. The pictures that you're seeing, so this is actually a slideshow in the background. So you have the ability to set this as a single image, and you can click which image you want. You have the ability to have this be a video. So if we had like a YouTube video that we wanted, playing in the background, we could link that URL here. Or what I have it set to is a slideshow. So I've uploaded 3 images, and you have the ability to do that through one of these menus. So I think you have to, you have to click on image, add image. So you upload your images here. And then if you want to switch it to slideshow, then it's going to slideshow all of the images that you've uploaded. That wasn't exactly intuitive. That's how you would do it. And so, again, these are placeholder pictures I have. They're not that great. So if somebody wants to replace these, I think it would be interesting to periodically swap these out so that the website always feels new and fresh to people who are coming back. But yeah, so feel free to play around with that. So the slideshow setting, you can set it to none, and then it's not going to move at all. It's going to stay. I have it set to slow, which quite honestly feels fast to me. But there is a setting for fast, so you can make it change faster if need be. And then the arrows, I have those on. So the arrows allow you to manually move between pictures. Slideshow auto plays, but if they want to go back and say, oh, wait a minute, what was that picture again? They can move through it. So you can disable that. Well, if you don't think it makes sense. And then the dot opacity. So you'll notice that this picture is kind of dimmed and fuzzy, and that's because it has basically a gray layer over it. So if I increase this, click save, you're going to barely be able to see the picture. get a liar out. I guess there's some protection there, maybe. Go back to 30. This is not doing what I thought it did, so I thought that's how you either made the picture sharper or opacity to whatever. Anyway, the opacity color. So I've got the opacity color set to kind of blue tint. You can change that as well. Height, things like that. So I guess this is the opacity of the picture. I set the opacity. Okay, yeah, you can see that's a little sharper. That is what that's doing. All right. And again, feel free to trial and error, play around with it. You're not going to break it. So I think this must be what's the overall opacity here because it's sharper after I moved it down to 70. That's a 70. Look how sharp that is. Click save. Yep. Now you can see it's kind of fuzzy, if you will. So the key here with your opacity is you're trying to make these letters, I don't want to say pop, but legible. But you might look at this and think it looks better with the sharper image, even if the letters aren't as visible. So I think that's, you know, absolutely open for whoever wants to own. And then the layout. So this is the layout that I have currently set, which is putting the text right here, kind of on the left center. But you can see there's different options. You could have it centered, you could have it lower left, you could have it kind of broken up into sections. Didn't really change it too much, and it's probably because I don't have buttons and things configured. Which could come in handy depending on the pictures that you upload. It may be that the particular picture, like this is a little busy down here because of the chairs, so it makes the words harder to see, whereas the other layout, particular picture, moved that up a little bit. So now when the chairs come up, yeah, see, this is now over the stage and it's not as busy in the background, so it's a little more visible. So your layout may depend or change based off of the pictures that we have configured back here. All right, so the opacity color, the height of the opacity, the thickness, I guess, of the opacity and the layout are things that you can configure, and then buttons. So I don't have the buttons configured, but if we'd created those, then you could change what that button looks like. Button 1, button 2, based on color that makes sense. You can configure that, and so you just click save every time and you're going to instantly see, you know, the changes. And again, those changes are live, but that's okay. So that's probably more settings than what you're going to typically use editing the rest of the content. So when we get down to the rest of the content, these are all just, think of them as blocks. And you can add as many as you want. Now, one thing that I've always tried to do with all of our websites is have scripture all throughout the website. Having God's word, it has been on my heart. And so I tend to use these as kind of section breaks, if you will. So coming out of the header, I have the first scripture, and feel free to update these scriptures, to change them. It's really easy. If you want to change them, you're just going to hover over the text. You see the little pencil icon. Click on that. You can change the heading. You could add a subheading, and then you can change the text within that. You could add a button if you want to have a button there that maybe links it to a larger scripture somewhere. You know, you can do whatever you want with those. If you want to add a new section, you're going to see these little plus circles in between sections. So if you click on that, it's going to ask you what type of block you want. So if you hover over, so this one is text with photo. That means there'll be a photo on one side and text on the other. You could have image links. So if you wanted to have multiple images, you could do a gallery. Maybe you want to embed a video. You could do events, and I think this is going to automatically pull from the events that are configured for the website. You could have a section for news, sermons, blogs, people. So if we wanted to add in our, our users, click on people and it would add that as well. We only have Tony configured right now under people. He's the only one showing up, but we could do, builders. And then if you decide, well, I don't really want this here, absolutely click on your settings, and I'm just and we're back to where we started. So you can add a section, you can play with it, and if you don't like it, you can delete it. I don't think you can drag and reorder, and I haven't figured out how yet. So sometimes I have to create it and then realize I want it somewhere else, so I have to recreate it somewhere else. The online ministry, so I mentioned in a previous video, this is linking to a YouTube playlist, so please don't change this. This is set so that it automatically picks up the latest or the newest video in that Sunday sermon playlist. So it will always show either the last one posted or the upcoming if we've already created the upcoming one. And I usually do those on Saturday so that this is at least top of the list all week long, although you can always click on that playlist link and play, But you can change, so try not to change the link here to the video, but you can change text. So if you wanted to say something other than online ministry, there's better text we could put here. You want to put a new message in, feel free to play around with the text around all of this. Just, it's the link, and I can show you if you click on edit element, it's this part right here that has the YouTube embed link. I think I embedded it. How I embed? Oh, maybe it was this. Yeah. So the source code is how I embedded it. So try not to change this. If you want to change the text that's above it or below it in this, go ahead and do that. Or the subheadings and headings, etc. And then here's another scripture. Again, feel free to update these or change these or reformat them, make the text bigger, have you. Images. So I have stock images in most of these placeholders. If you wanted to change the picture for the upcoming events, you would just do that. And then you have the ability to delete, add a new image to change them. Free to play around with images. I think again, stock images look nice, but they're not very. So having photos that change periodically make the website feel updated and fresh for visit multiple times. But then having more photos that are GHMC events really starts to. One thing that I don't like about the way I have the website is it's very cold. Aside from this header, which has Pastor Tony preaching, it's cold. It's an empty stage. It's stock photos. If I was trying to find a church and I wasn't sure if I wanted to visit, this doesn't really tell me anything about who the church is or the people in the church. And these stock images don't really help either. It's like, oh, well, that's a pretty picture, but who are these people? Having more personal, more realistic pictures, images, content, that's going to help me at least have an idea of who GHMC is as a family. And I think that's what the website needs to be better about. It really, since it's the front line for people who don't know us, it should be the place where they go to get to know us, or at least determine that they want to know us better and then actually, come to Sunday service or engage with us directly. And so when I showed you adding a new block, there was one that was an image and then content. That's what this block is. If you click on edit block, you can always change that layout too. So this was the one that I selected when I created this. You can select a different type of layout. So maybe you want a smaller image on the right. Let's do set layout, and then there you go. So it changes. You've got your image here now, but then your different events would show up like this underneath it. And that might be another way to make the website feel fresh, is to periodically come in here and just kind of change the way things are laid out. You might come into one like this. So as you've seen in other scriptures, the blocks are short, and mostly because I use those as dividers. Then you get to this one and it's really big and it looks a little that way. I can go into my edit block and I can kind of poke around and say, you know, what's going on here? One, my vertical padding is small. Let me try none. Maybe I don't need a save button. Got my vertical padding on small and then none, and it's still tall. So that tells me that this is not the setting. So maybe it's this height. There we go. The minimum height is you with that is. So sometimes it's just going to be poking around and seeing what different things do. So my overlay capacity here is set to 100. If I had a picture behind that, then I could change that, but I don't. I'm going to leave it. And then you can change the color. I've got this one set to blue, which maybe that one. Now you can change the colors. Wanted to do a background photo. Have any photos? Yeah, so you could upload a background photo and then change the opacity so that it's lighter or darker. Then of course I'm going to delete that because photo for programming doesn't really structure. And you can change the layout. We already talked about that. The text, so heading and subheading sizes, buttons. This doesn't have a button, but you could figure. Then of course settings. So stuff. I don't know what all these do. You can delete. Okay, so there's other content, so like download the GHMC app. This is probably relevant to leave for a while, but it may not make sense to live on the home page forever. So this might be something that eventually we move to the I'm new page, or something like that. And in that case, you would just go recreate it there and delete this here. This is an example of a button. So we've seen several places where you could customize buttons. So you can see here, button one link. It's actually linking to the app download for our app. And then of course the color of the button is being set by the block element settings. So over here in the overall block, and the block pretty much goes left to right. So even though you've got a left side here of content and a right side image, that's all one big block. And so when you get over to the buttons, then you can see, you know, button one, I think I have set to gray, but I could change it to the blue so you can see it turn blue. If I want it to really stand out, I can make it that dark gray. I had it at light gray. I like the dark gray better. Let's leave that. All right. So, and then for this, one thing that I have done is I've linked to the app tutorial. So when we launched the app, I created this app tutorial kind of as a get started, walking through what's in the app. And so I wanted to make that visible here. So what I did is I just added an element, which is kind of a text element here. And then I embedded that video. So I went to YouTube, I got the embed source code, and then I came in here and just pasted it. And so you can do that with YouTube videos. If there's one that you want to embed, you can easily do that by going through that embed link. And if you've never done that before, you're not sure, I can absolutely show you how to do that. And then of course, this get involved section, we put this in here when this launched. It's probably not so relevant. I mean, we still want people to get involved, but I don't think it's getting any action here on the website. And again, the website's geared more towards people not affiliated with the church yet, so this doesn't really make sense on the website, but this would be a great topic to engage people in the app. So this may be one of the pieces that right out of the gate, go in, delete it, remove it, replace it with something else that's a little more meaningful. This section is like the links section. And so you can see we've got, the service hours, and some of these, okay, so this is actually a text element that you change. Sometimes what you'll find in the website is you can't figure out how to change, the text that's showing, and it's because it's actually through the admin content. And we'll get there in a second. So this one, by clicking on it, I can see that I can change it right here. That's great. But if I didn't see it there, then there's another place we could go look. And then you can change the icon. So showing like a clock icon, but there's some other ones you can choose to change if that makes more sense. So we've got, the service hours, the worship service. I wanted to call out call to worship. Most people don't really know what that is. You can do there on messaging. But just the idea of available. And then, the kids program probably needs some work there, and yeah, get the app. So really, I just tried to balance this box. So I tried to put 6 things in there, and I can't say they all make sense, but feel free to edit or work this. And then the footer. So you can't change the footer like it is. You'll notice when you hover, there's no section, no edit button, there's no nothing. And that is because the footer is edited. So if you hover and you see the edit block or the little edit element pencil sign or the edit image, then you can edit it in line here. Like I might have, or maybe I was just, but okay. If you don't get that, so in the case of the footer, I'm hovering and I don't have any way to change office hours right here, or my phone number, or any of this, then that means I need to go up to the admin menu. So the admin menu is where you're going to get most of your, let's say, hard-coded content. So events, for instance, we've seen this in the events tutorial, is where you create or manage events that show up on the website. And they also show up in the app. That is synchronized. But to create an event, you can't do it within the page. You have to come in here to the admin content and create the events. And so then when you add an events element to the web page, then it's going to automatically pull in data or information from this section. The same with news. So if you're going to create a news announcement, you're going to create it in here, and then the portion of the web page that's set up to show news will pull that in automatically. Blogs are the same. So when you create a blog, you're going to create it here in the content. Then if there's a section enabled on the website to show blogs, it will display them from this list. Pages. So I don't understand this because I think I can click on these and edit most of this content in page itself. But you can also come here and click on I'm new, and then you have the ability to change the image. And again, these are stock images, so I really would like to see real images of real GHMC people in this page. And some of them might make sense, like for stock images, but we need to at least mix in some real nice photos. But you can edit the content. So again, this is a perfect example of one that it was a page that existed. It needed something to launch, and so I threw something together really fast. This really could use a complete redo. And the idea on this I'm new is somebody who is looking to visit a church and they want, what are the things they want to know before they decide A, I want to go visit this church, and B, what should I know when I walk in? Or is there a kids program? What's the routine? Do my kids go into the sanctuary, or do I need to drop them off somewhere? Are there, what's the bathroom situation? Do they have handicap bathrooms? Things like that. Just try to think through that and then put the information here that makes somebody feel as comfortable as possible. Okay, back to content. And then collections, I don't really understand this. I understand ministries, and I didn't really build these out. This is out of the box. So we need somebody to revamp all of the ministries on the website, starting with the kids, youth ministry, even adult ministry. So I can't even say that the content on the website is accurate. For instance, if you go to children's ministry, it says ages 4 to 11. I don't even know if that's the GHMC numbers. That's just what was in this canned template when we created the website. And then I love this picture of DJ, but that's really, really dated. So having more up-to-date photos, really for the kids programs, we should have as many photos as we can. We want to be conscious and make sure that their parents are okay with us posting pictures of them on the website. We should have some kind of process around that. But if you're looking for a church to visit and you have kids and you want to know what is the day in the life of a GHMC kid on Sunday mornings? What is the day in the life on Wednesday afternoons? Like, if I were looking for a church to take my kids, I would want to know those things in pretty detailed. What does it look like? Well, we worship with our family in a sanctuary, and then we have a snack, and then we, learn about the Bible, and maybe examples of that or pictures like this one where it's showing the Bible come alive. But I would say that probably needs to be a primary target, is revamping the kids page to a day in the life of, for both Sunday mornings and Wednesdays. That is pretty solid, because I think this is probably one of the key things people look for. The youth ministries is something that really needs help as well. So one thing about our teens they are extremely elusive when it comes to pictures. So this has always been a struggle with all of our websites to have any kind of content for the ministry. Finding any pictures of them or events that they do, or what is a day in the life of a GHMC teen. Honestly, I would really like to see this built out, not just with real photos and some context of what is it like to be a GHMC teen, but this might also be an opportunity for like GHMC youths to blog. Help with content that's meaningful for that age group. And then adult ministries are even harder, and I don't even have them listed here. We should add them. So what is the GHMC ladies? What does that look like? What do we do? What have we got going on? Maybe the GHMC men, etc. So somebody really needs to own the ministry section and knock that out. Figure out what the content needs to be and then make that happen. All right, so we were in the content. And so that's where you would add this. If, you know, we've got the collection ministries. You could absolutely add new ministries in the content section. If you can't figure out how to add new ministries, ask me. It might be something that we have to do first at the high level admin, and then it rolls on entirely. Podcasts we're not doing. Have our YouTube channel right now, so I wouldn't worry about this unless he wants to tackle it and figure it out. Tags is not something I've done, but something we should do. And so if you think about somebody going to Google and typing in churches near Bloomington, Indiana, this is where you define the tags that a search engine should match. So for instance, we would want to match any searches that say, you know, Bloomington, church, Jesus, youth group, kids church, could be Pentecost, non-denominational, whatever those things are that somebody might type into a search engine that would point them to us. And we want those to be relevant tags. We don't want to put tags in there that don't really apply to our beliefs or what we do. But if we're looking for people who are looking for us, you know, what are those keywords that somebody might enter? And so this is where it's easy. So this is where we can add these, and we can put these on. No, I not authorizes to make this change, but I can add keywords. So if somebody wants to add keywords and let me know, I can go in and then tags. But that would be helpful as well, because once we turn that on, it's going to help people. It's going to help our page come up higher in the list when somebody searches. And then live streams, don't worry about. We live stream straight to YouTube and already have that pulling into the videos section. So we we may need to sometime in the future change the way we live stream because it likes to shut us off. We might end up using this, but we're not using this right now. So that's the content section. So high level, again, if you're going to create or manage events, create or manage news, blog articles, those types of things are going to be, content is going to come from this content menu. Once you update it here, then you'll see those things displayed on the pages. The next section is design. And so this is what you visually see. So the color scheme that we have selected is this one. You can tell by looking at the page. You could change the color scheme. So if we wanted to, you know, give it a fresh look without doing too much work, we could very easily just update the color scheme. Hey, look, it looks like we redesigned the website. This might be one of those things that, you know, we don't really do too much with color branding, but one thing is that users who come back to a site a lot, this might like watches online every Sunday, your eye is going to get comfortable with a certain look and feel of something. So if they're used to seeing our logo in a certain kind of color scheme and then it changes, it's going to stand out. Now the question you need to ask yourself is their impression going to be, oh, hey, cool, they made some updates, or is it going to be, am I on the wrong site? Like, have I gotten into a malicious redirect somewhere? So keep that in mind when you change things around. But, you know, I think periodic changes and updates, I think, is good for the website. You can change the fonts. So I've got this set to like Roboto and Open Sans. So that's the font types that you see. This is actually an image. You're not going to be able to change that GHMC family logo. But the rest of this, you could absolutely change to a different type of font. I'm going to show you a preview of what that looks like. You can change like the size and the spacing of the headings and the subheadings. And you will have noticed you saw these listed in Dropbox's page editor. And this is where you can edit. If you select heading 1, this is what it looks like. You can change that. You could make that smaller. So instead of 36, you can make that 19. And then everything that has that heading 1 selection would be updated by what you change here. You can do letter spacing. So look at the space between the letters. Instead of 0 OEM, we could make it 0.9, and you can see that that kind of stretches it out. That looks pretty nice for certain titles. Again, it's all design and recent art. This is the logo. So I've created this logo and then uploaded it. So if we ever have our logo changed, this is where you would come in and change. And so really, I was supposed to do one like a dark logo, meaning if it's on a dark background, and then a light one if it's light background, and maybe vice versa. I just uploaded the same one for both. But if we wanted to do one that's different, then you have your favicon. So that's in the upper tab of your browser. When you see that in that, that's your favicon. So I've just done a simple cross, but we could change that and upload the file here. The header, so this is that top section, and did see there's some options to edit layout within the page itself, and but you can change some of these things here as well. Top bar menu, so this is off right now. If I turn that on, maybe you have to save it, but there were additional links here at the top, and you can kind of see that layout here. I didn't need them when I created this, have this turned off, but if it makes sense, you can absolutely enable it, but you will have to add links. Play on that bar. Then you got the main menu. Footer. So this was the example I showed you where you can't change the footer on the page itself. You have to come in here. So we went to admin, we're in design, and this is where I thought this was main menu, but you can see the footer. So you can change the layout of how everything is displayed. You can change the color of the footer, the opacity. You can do a background photo instead. Information in the text area. This turns on whether you want to see the main menu or the about menu, so you can display what shows, like your social icons. Might make sense to turn these off since I don't really link any of our, I think I linked to Facebook, but we don't have any of the other social medias on the account. The locations, that should probably stay there, and office hours should probably stay as well. But anyway, you can make those edits and update the footer. You can update buttons, so if you want to change the shape of the buttons, live stream, we're not doing a different way anyway. Email newsletters, I don't know what that does. Default images, so this is where I've uploaded images to use in the website. You can also upload additional images. You probably should with photos from GHMC, but I think this just makes them available to select. Obviously, you can upload them at the point where when we saw that in the other examples. Not really sure what. All right, so that's content and design, and then settings. So this is where, when you saw the office hours displayed in the footer, this is where it's coming. So this is where you can specify under general our organization name. You put a GHMC email here, office hours, admin contact, which right now is me, but we can always change that to somebody else if it makes sense. Features, so I have the newsletter and the plan it off. You can research what those are and decide if you want them on, if you're willing to manage it. You have the sermons on. I don't think it's. Don't mess with domains. This is what's pointing tidily to where we host our website. locations. So we only have one church. I've already got that set in here, although if I have the address wrong, you could update it here in the time zone. But if GHMC were to branch out and add new locations, then we could add multiple GHMC locations here. We say open to church in Owen County, for instance, we could have a second location, manage it that way. Map location, I think this is showing correctly. So this is, you see the Google map with dot, this pointing them to us. Social media links, so again, we have Facebook, but we don't have Twitter, Instagram. I didn't even point it to our YouTube channel. So again, if somebody wanted to do this, that'd be fine. I'm not too worried about it myself. Site maintenance, I can't see a reason why we would want to take our whole site down. You have the same option in apps as well, where you can completely take it down for maintenance, and I don't see any reason why we would need to do that. Google Analytics, I do not have set up. We should think about this. So Google Analytics tracks how many people are visiting the website, what pages they're using, very similar to what we have available in the but I don't have this linked or set up since I've migrated the site. So it's something we should consider doing, but it's going to take a little bit of research to figure out how we do it. I don't think you need redirects. So redirects would happen if we didn't want hmc.org anymore, but we wanted people to land somewhere else when they went there. Not really sure about translations. Organization groups. So I guess you can add a new group. So I added the AV team for you admins, but I don't know why we would want to add new groups, but I guess you can. Integrations, so please don't change this. This is integrating our Tithely giving account so that when people click on give, it's to our account and allowing them to donate to our church. Leave that the way that it is. Same with this. So the iCal, the RSS, this is all pulling in things from our high-level administrative account. So I don't want to change any of these right now. If you think one of them needs change, let me know and we'll figure it out together. All right, so that was, we went through content design, that was settings. People and users we already looked at in the very first. You need to remove a user or add a new admin user. If you do enable the church staff to show up, you would have to create them as users, but you just wouldn't tell them what their password is that keeps them logging in. It would put them into the people. So the last thing left in the website is menus. So menus, main is main. So the main menu has home, about, events, news, ministries, sermons, contact, and give. And you see those listed here across the top. So you could remove if you decided, you know what, we don't really need the sermons page. You know, edit it, or you could delete it. Or you could add a new link in here if there's another page that makes sense. The top bar. So this was the top bar I think that I have disabled. Ship and Connect are the only things set up there. Didn't really make sense with the content that we had available. The footer. So we saw where we can change the settings that are shown in the footer. But when we see the footer link, so that app login admin and the admin tutorials that we use for logging in and editing the admin stuff, those are links that I created. So I just added a link. I put in the text I want to show. So in that one case, it was the admin login parenthesis admin, and then pasted in the link when you click on it where you want them to go. And then I set the visibility to all on all of those, but you can actually create a link that is only visible if an admin is logged in. So logged in would be anybody logged in, but I only have admin set up with that ability right now, or you can have it only visible to the admin. So There are some options here to help us, the AV, the tech teams. Once they log in, we could make more things to make their life easier. And if you click save link, it would instantly be updated in the footer. The good thing about the footer is it's going to be consistently visible on all of the pages of the website. So no matter where you're at, you can get to that point. The page menus, so about, this was kind of the sub menu that we saw with the about. So wasn't just about us. There was our team, I'm new, our beliefs. So you could add, move sub pages with that. Then giving, I think, is already linked to our account. So I wouldn't, anytime you see give, I would be very hesitant to make changes because that's all set up to our Tidely giving account, which is, how money makes it our bank account. All right. So that's a very, very long and grueling, sorry, deep dive of the page, but hopefully you get an idea of what can be done, how to do it, enough to poke around and at least feel comfortable making some updates. Try one more time to change this layout. There we go. Yay, we're back. See, even if you break it, sometimes when you come back later, you can